First place in the NFC South on the line on Sunday. Tampa at Carolina. Both of these teams are 7-7. Trysta, how the hell did we get here with Tampa's electric start to the season and Carolina not looking so hot?
Well, I kind of feel like, Nick, neither one of those early starts were really indicative of who they were for this year. We knew that after how good the season was for the Bucs, there was injury regression here. You cannot have another Baker Mayfield MVP year unless really he is that guy. So you've got the Mike Evans injury, the Chris Godwin's injury, a Buka injury, a Bucky Irving injury. And so now you start to see like what this team is when they don't have all their pieces around. And then in terms of Carolina, they made a lot of organizational changes. And for that, it takes time for it to mesh and for the gumbo to start to all the seasoning
to
mesh. You know
slow cooking it,
Yeah, it's been in the slow cooker. And now we're starting to feel like I think this Carolina team for the future is on the upswing despite how bad and disappointing the Saints' loss was.
You're being very nice to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to be a little meaner, and I'm just going to call it like I see it. Tampa was really lucky at the start of the season. And if you're a Bucs fan watching this right now and you're annoyed by that, like, you're not living in reality. Like, I don't know what to tell you. All these close games, and we give Baker Mayfield credit, right? Like, you don't take wins away. They pulled all these games out of their derriere at the end. They were all really close, and they won all of them, and that's generally not what happens. So I think we're probably looking at a Bucs team that's at 500 right now. Maybe a little bit better than the record indicates, but certainly not as good as they looked at the start of the year.
Yes.
And it's why we said here on Snap Judgements, like, Baker Mayfield's not going to win MVP because the Bucs aren't going to win enough games to get him there. And lo and behold, here we are at 7-7. And for Carolina, I'll say this about the Panthers. I mean this as a compliment. It's going to sound like an insult, or you're not a good way to start something, but
yeah,
I'm being real about this. Carolina is not as good as the record indicates. Like, they are not. They're not a 500 team. They're not. They just aren't. And the quarterback's not very good. And I don't think the roster is very good. And the reason why this is a compliment is because they somehow are at 7-7 and in the division race right now. And I think this coaching staff and this front office and how analytically driven they are, I think has kind of like spurred them forward here, where they get into games against better teams and they take big shots, and sometimes they win those games and sometimes they don't. But I love the approach that Carolina's taken here. And I agree with you. I don't know if the quarterback is the quarterback of the future here, but I do like the direction that the franchise is moving in as we head into 26 and beyond, and maybe they win the division.
I think what we are seeing, like you said, Nick, is just like that there's chaos in this division, and we really don't know who's good and who's not. And they're probably, none of them are very good right now.
Oh, they're I would say that they're all bad. Yeah. They're all not very good, and we'll get to that in the playoffs because one of these two teams, Tampa or Carolina, will host a home playoff game. And when that happens, Trysta, as we're going to get that wild card weekend, Tampa or Carolina at home against one of the really good teams in the NFC, which quarterback would you trust more in a one-game scenario? Baker Mayfield, who obviously has some big game success both in college and the NFL, or former Heisman Trophy winner at Alabama, Bryce Young?
Let me just start by saying I'm sorry, okay? You know who you are when I apologize, and clip it, folks in the back in the social. I'm sorry. It's Baker Mayfield, and it's not close. No shade to Bryce Young. You'll get there, son.
I'll throw shade at Bryce Young also in a second, but you can continue here. Baker Mayfield, your answer.
Absolutely has stolen a game before in the playoffs. You've got Mike Evans back healthy. Again, you've got Bucky Irving back healthy. Again, Chris Godwin healthy. Again. So yeah, when all the pieces are back, like, it's not even a close question. It's not even a question to me.
I don't think Bryce Young's good. Now, there's degrees of not being good. Can he be on an NFL roster for 10 years? 100%. Absolutely. I don't think he's the guy that you hand the keys of your franchise over. Like,
can he be Danny Jones?
For 1 year, he could maybe be Daniel Jones. But, like, that's the Daniel Jones conundrum, right? Is he Daniel Jones? And let's say Jones never got hurt, right? Could he do this again next year? Like, I would bet against it. And I'm a Giants fan who saw him play well 1 year and then kind of regress the next year. I don't see it with Bryce. And that doesn't mean he can't be a spot starter, a quality backup, a bridge quarterback. He's not a top-notch NFL caliber starting quarterback. And Baker Mayfield has shown that while he's very streaky, he can be that. And I do think the best unit on either team, Trysta, is the Buccaneers offense. So for me, I don't even think this is close. I think it's Baker Mayfield over Bryce Young.
And on top of that, I would say the second best unit is the Tampa Bay defense as well. So, like, we know what the Tampa Bay defense ceiling is compared to the Carolina defense, which has gotten much better than 32nd in the league. I'll give them that. But what we saw in that Saints loss was just egregious.
And I'll say that egregious losses. Tampa's loss to Atlanta last Thursday night when Todd Bowles basically threw the entire team under the bus, which he has never done in all the years he's been a coach in the NFL. I'm fascinated to see what the Bucs' defensive effort is going to be on Sunday. I actually think Carolina might win the game, but which is a story for another time. So when we get to Wild Card Weekend, and you watching this right now, you're going to have this decision to make when we get there, because the team that doesn't win the NFC West between the Rams or the Seahawks, like, you might see Green Bay, you might see Chicago. Hell, let's see what happens with Detroit. Probably not, but maybe. You are going to see either Carolina or Tampa host one of the best teams in the NFC on Wild Card Weekend and almost certainly be a home underdog. Can either team, Carolina or Tampa, actually win one of those games on Wild Card Weekend?
Yes. It depends on who they play. I would say the Panthers' best shot is probably Seattle, just because Seattle's offense can stall, and we've seen some competent defense from Carolina basically just trying to figure out a way to play contain. And against Sam Darnold, like, who we don't believe in, we've already established that. I think that they could play a very slow, grinding, low-scoring game. Against the Rams, no shot. Against the 49ers, no shot. Way too much motion, way too much pressure on the linebackers, just too much eye manipulation, absolutely zero.
As crazy, I think Tampa is better than Carolina.
Yes.
I do. I think the Bucs are better. I think Baker's better than Bryce Young. The reason why I like Carolina a little bit this weekend, like home underdog in the game, so kind of lean towards Carolina. I would actually give Carolina a better chance to win a game on Wild Card Weekend, even though I think Tampa's better. And the reason for that is Carolina, when they get into one of these games, and they'll be a dog whoever they play, obviously, probably more than 3 points. It'll be a pretty decent-sized home underdog. They're going to play a high-variance game where, like, maybe you get railroaded in the game and you get stuffed in a locker and you lose, like, 40-9 like they did to Buffalo. Or, like, maybe you win a game like they did against Green Bay or like they did against the Rams. So Carolina's going to play that high-variance game where they could lose by a million, but also they could win outright. I don't think Tampa's good enough to beat any of these teams, even Trysta, if they did beat Seattle earlier in the regular season.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's the confounding thing about Carolina. And we've got a friend who works for Carolina that I DM all the time, and I say, what is this Carolina team? And he says, TBD, wait and see. And that's, I think, what all the fans are thinking about this team too.
Well, to our mutual friend, unfortunately, I think we will have to wait and see until 2026 and beyond for the Carolina Panthers. One of these teams, Trysta, will make the playoffs, Tampa or Carolina. Do either of us think they're very good? No.
Sorry.